everyone. Sam Leterna here with a very, very special episode of Wrestle Tea, where I'm actually getting the opportunity to interview one of the women who's going to be on the PWI 500, Miss Davienne. We're not sure what number she's going to be yet. Can't, reveal all of the cards on PWI's table, but I am collaborating with Bell to Bells and PWI for this. Thank you so much, Davie, for being one of my first interviews. How are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you, Sam?
I'm doing well. I don't know if you see palm trees in the background, but I'm on vacation, so I cannot complain.
Beautiful. I'm so jealous. I have the day off today. I start a new job tomorrow. So
Nice. Well, good luck.
Thank you. Lots of big changes in my life recently. I left my company that I've been with for 6 years, sold my house, got a new job, and rented a new apartment and got 2 roommates. All within
so I've heard. Yeah, you got some wrestling roommates now, right?
some wrestling roommates, gonna have like a little wrestle house, moving closer to the New England Pro Wrestling Academy. The place we looked at is about a half a mile away. So yeah, we're really just going all in on this wrestling thing.
Awesome, and that's what it takes. It takes people who want to live that lifestyle with you and fully immerse in that experience of training, both in the gym, in the ring, travel, all that. So congratulations to you and the other two who I won't name, but yes. But let's get straight into it. You've had a killer year. You've powered through the pandemic, and very recently, last weekend, or a couple of weeks by the time this interview comes out, who knows, but you're the first ever woman to hold the Chaotic Heavyweight Championship. How are you feeling about that, defeating JT Dunn?
The moment was incredible. I still like tear up thinking about it. Chaotic is my home. It's where I first started, training, and I was the only girl for like 6 years. I trained by myself, not by myself, with only men, and to see the progression that Chaotic has made of the girls matches are not just a 6-minute match before main event anymore. The girls, and not just the girls, everybody who's put in effort and that people want to buy a ticket to see, they're now like their spot on the card is valued. I have never felt so valued by a company until like now, and it's just like, well, holy crap, like this is all really real. And I literally, like, if you go down the list of names of people who've held that title, like Ivar, Tommaso Ciampa, Brian Malonis, JT Dunn, Anthony Green, Christian Casanova, Carmelo Hayes now, and then Davienne is now on that list. And it's like, what? Like, I really used to sit in the locker room backstage and everybody be around the monitor watching the main events of Chaotic. And it's like the most talented people in New England. I'd be like, oh, I could never do that. And then,
as a title that was generally allotted to men, did you ever think the opportunity to even be in contention for it would happen?
No, never, ever, ever. It was 2 years ago. I had a brief, I guess, absence from Chaotic. They wanted to use other girls, and there just really wasn't a spot on the show because there were only 2 spots for girls, and they were using other ones. And I was really in a bad place with wrestling, so it was like, whatever. And then they decided to bring me back, and they were like, hey, we want to maybe do this intergender stuff that you've been doing. And I was like, okay, cool. And then it all just kind of just snowballed into what it is now, and the story with JT, and like first we tagged and we won tag titles, and then he turned on me, and it just became this big story. And I felt like kind of, like everybody was like she's gonna do it, right? Like she's definitely gonna do it, but are they gonna take it away from us and like keep JT as the champion? And like I did it. Like, and it wasn't like anybody even like batted an eyelash that a girl or a woman won the title. It was like, no, she's just really good at wrestling, and we love watching her wrestle, and she deserves to be the main champion because why not? Like,
who else?
Like, literally, who else? And it's just like really cool to when I first started wrestling, I just wanted to be a wrestler. Like, I was 11, I wanted to be a wrestler. I was just like what I loved. I never, ever, ever, ever in my wildest dreams even thought about like breaking gender barriers or like being a trailblazer or something. It's just like something I was just like, yeah, like this is my role and this is where I stand. And then like it took people to like tell me like, hey, you're making a difference. And I'm like, wait, what? No, I'm not. I'm just me. Like I just do my thing. And they're like, no, like you're opening doors for, you know, Becca and Ava Everett and Paris Van Dale. And I was like, oh, okay, like cool. Like that means a lot to me. And we recently did a fantasy camp at the New England Pro Wrestling Academy. And we had a 15-year-old girl who's very, very nervous. And we don't allow people who are under 18 to actually train, but for a fantasy camp you could come and, you know, hit the ropes and do that and see if you would want to train in the future. And she was very, very nervous. And I was like, it's okay. Like, and just, you know, coached her through like the roles that we were doing. And at the end, she gave me a hug and was like, thank you for making me feel confident. And I was just like, this is everything. Like, this is everything to just make, you know, like when I first started wrestling, I was very timid. I was 18 years old. I was 3 days after I turned 18, I started training. And like, I was so timid. I was so nervous. I didn't talk to anybody. And just to be able to help somebody feel more comfortable, I was like, oh, my heart just melted.
Yeah, full circle moment from you beginning your first days at New England Pro Wrestling to now not. I didn't realize my phone was not on Do Not Disturb. That's annoying.
That's okay.
Coincidentally, a wrestler friend calling, but I will absolutely edit that out. Okay. Jesus Christ. But anyway, but yes, definitely a full circle moment for you as somebody who is now the standard bearer of that company and someone who walked in as a shy, you know, young girl, young adult at 18, now getting to coach other women and mentor other women. We're going to get into that because I'm a huge fan of some of the women that you have been mentoring at NetWA. But something that stuck out to me so much about that win for you at Chaotic was this photo that came up on social media of you, Alicia Edwards, and Becca. And to me, that like screamed like past, present, future, like so hard. And it was just so inspirational because New England Pro Wrestling really does have a comprehensive program with training that I rarely see anywhere else. So they're making y'all ladies into machines. Same with the guys. But how was that for you having Alicia there and of course your mentor Becca?
It was so cool. As Alicia was there for me when I first started, because there really wasn't a lot of women when I first started. There was you know, Sasha Banks had gotten signed, I believe, like 2 months after I started training. So I barely got to spend time with her. There was Alicia and there was Mistress Belmont. And that was pretty much it. And like the two of them, they helped me a lot. Don't get me wrong. But they were still kind of like, they weren't in that mode where they're like trying to get out there. Like they're like happy with their roles. And then, you know, like the other women who are around, like just, you know, weren't the best and like wrestling for a very long time, but like still not great. And my trainer would be like, hey, like you're already better, so you have to like call the matches and you have to get them through. And be like, well, why can't anybody teach me? So like Alicia was that like the one of the her and Belmont were like the two that really like actually teach me stuff in the ring. And then Alicia will now tell me, she's like, wow, you're better than me now. And so it'd be like really cool. It was so cool to just have her there because she's just like, wow, like I never would have thought you would have been this. And then to have Becca and Paris and Shannon, who's brand new and having her first matches. And they care so much. Yeah. And that to me is more than anything. Like you can stink, but if you care so much and you're trying, like that's really all I care about, because I'll dedicate my time to you if you care.
And if you want it.
Yes, if you want it and you're trying, I will 100% dedicate my time to you. Becca literally saved my wrestling career. myself and Ava Everett last June, we made a group chat with like all the girls, and we were like, hey guys, we just want to let you know, like, we're quitting wrestling. And we all went out to dinner, and Becca was like, when you guys told us that, my heart just dropped, because she was like, who am I going to wrestle? And her caring, and Paris caring so much, like, invigorated my love of wrestling again, that I didn't walk away. And like, literally the two of them taking me out to dinner saved my wrestling career. Like, this interview would not be happening if that dinner did not happen. So to watch their progression, and to then, have them by my side, is just like a moment I will truly, truly never forget, because to see, the ones that I'm kind of making it easier for, like, they don't have to fight for a better spot on the card, or they don't have to, like, be like, oh, I would want to wrestle like this guy, or it's just like, it wasn't my intention to do that, but I'm so happy that their lives will be easier because of, like, crap that I had to go through.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And if we really think about it from like a historical perspective as well, we are talking about the PWI 500, right? That was first published in 1991. We're going on 30 years of PWI ranking wrestlers. And it wasn't until 2008 that women were included. And it was only a list of 50. It wasn't until 10 years later in 2018 that we had the women's 100, of which last year we ranked number 81. So congratulations for that. I'm so excited to see where we rank on the all gender list this year. And I think that a big thing that has contributed to your rise over the past year has been your willingness to be that standard bearer at so many companies like Chaotic, Limitless, at WWR Plus. All of these young girls look up to you. I can see that, like, working in locker rooms with you guys. And it's really inspirational, because everyone needs a mentor in wrestling. So many times I think people just fend for themselves and go inward. And like, when you have problems, like thinking of, leaving wrestling and stuff like that, having like a shoulder to lean on is really important. And I've learned that myself, like becoming a broadcaster, transitioning out of wrestling. Like, I actually have friends in wrestling now. It's crazy. I feel like I didn't have many. Yeah.
For my first like 5 or 6 years, I legitimately didn't have friends. Like, literally, I didn't have friends. And even like in high school and in middle school, elementary school, I didn't have friends. I have one friend. And it really took, like, I'm a very, like, socially anxious person as well. You wouldn't think it now, because I, like, the people are like, oh my God, you just exude confidence. And I'm like, nah, it's all fake it till you make it, baby. But like, I didn't have a lot of people. I would feel really anxious, like, reaching out, like, oh, would you want to come to the show, or could I ride with you, or whatever. So my very few minimal friends were like Anthony Green and and Dijak. Like, he would be like, hey, do you want to hop in the car, come to the show with me? And then it would stink, because like, he walks in and he's like 6'8" and like jacked, and they'd be like, oh, thank you for bringing your girlfriend to the show. And he'd be like, no, like, she trained. And he would try so hard, but people are just so impressed by him that it's like, oh, like, thank you so much for like bringing me and introducing me to people, but like, they just are just like, at you.
And then you still have to be like, oh yeah, thank you so much for letting me come here, when like they're not seeing your potential or the talent that you have.
Exactly. And so like, and then like Ava Everett started training, and like we started riding together and wrestling each other all the time, and I was like, oh my God, this is what it's like to like have like a bond with somebody, like a sisterhood, and like somebody to bounce ideas off of. And like, we became super close. And then like Becca came, and then Paris came, and it was like, oh my God, like, and now I legitimately have like the best friends I've ever had in the world. Like, I have like group chats, and I'm like, what? Like, and I think a big thing for people like starting off in wrestling, I always felt very intimidated to like ask questions, stuff like that. I want to be that person that like you feel comfortable in and outside of the ring with me. Like, if you're like, even when we do drills and I'm like with a new person, and they like, I can feel them start to freak out. Like, I'm not the kind of person that's going to get mad. I go, it's okay, calm down. This is where we're going. And they're like, you make me feel so calm. And I'm like, well, why would I want you to freak out? Like, it's okay. Like, we're all okay. This is practice. Like, even if we're on a show, like, I'd be like, shh, it's okay. Like, let's get to the spot. Like, we're good. It's okay.
Yeah.
And I've had instances where it's like, oh my God, like this person's better than me. And they make me feel intimidated, and it makes me feel like I'm not equal to be in the ring with them. And I never, ever, ever want anybody to feel that way with me. Like, you are obviously in the ring with me for a reason. Whatever the match may be, I want you to feel comfortable. I want you to be able to learn. I want to learn. And I want you to be able to like approach me like after for feedback or just like whatever you would need. Like, absolutely reach out. Like, if you don't have those people to reach out to, it's like wrestling is very, very lonely, and it's not fun if it's lonely.
Yeah, seriously, it's not. But it can be with friends and a support system.
Yeah, it can be incredible.
But you mentioned earlier that you were thinking of quitting wrestling last year. Do you mind talking about that, expounding on why that was?
Obviously speaking out is very, very difficult, for everybody. Some people that I thought I was friends with and like was close to, things went down. And I kind of got like a crappy end of the sticks with some of it, of like promotions just excommunicating our school because things went down with people that were involved in it. It was like, I didn't know anything that was going on. Like, there are people that like literally, like, there's how many documentaries are there? Somebody marries a serial killer, and like, you don't know, like, you don't know what people do, like, outside of, the 3 hours you spend with them at class. And at that point I was like, this is just really toxic. And it was like height of pandemic. And I was like, I have a good job. I just bought my first home. I was remodeling it. And I was like, I think I'm all set if I never wrestle again. And I tried to really convince myself that I would be all set without wrestling in my life. So I was like, whatever, like my body starts to feel good. I'm not sore.
Yeah.
And then, like the other girls were like, we accept that you're going to leave, but like, we'll be really sad. And then Anthony Green got signed to NXT. And it was at that point where we could kind of like start going to the school again. And he was like, come to the school. And I was like, Anthony, I quit. Like, I'm done. I'm not coming to the school. And he's like, no, come to the school. So I was like training more than I ever had in like 2 or 3 years. And I'm like, I'm retired. Like, I don't wrestle anymore, but I'm training a bunch. Like, what am I doing? And then we had the first road taping and for Limitless. And we had asked Randy Carver if Ava and I could wrestle our last match, like a singles match against each other. And he was like, yes, but I want you guys to do a tag like the day before. And if you reevaluate, have fun on the tag, like, we won't do the singles. And we had so much fun. And I was just like, like, I wanted to wrestle since I was 11. Like, I told everybody and their mother, like, I'm going to be a professional wrestler. I graduated high school early. I had fights, literal verbal arguments with my guidance counselor. And she'd be like, can you at least fill out the Common App to go to college? And I was like, no, I'm being a professional wrestler. Like, I want to get out of here. I want to get out of this school and graduate and get a job. And that's what I did. I graduated half year. I got a full-time job at a gym. I bought a car, and I went to the New England Pro Wrestling Academy 3 days after I turned 18 with a full year's of tuition. And I was like, here you go. And I was like, if I leave now, I'm going to fail that little girl who was 11 and who was 18. And it was like, I really didn't give it my full effort just because other people were crappy. Like, that's not fair to myself. And now I'm to the point where if somebody tried to take wrestling away from me, I would probably like stab them because I just love it so much. Like, it's everything to me.
So essentially, in a time where a lot of people did stop wrestling during the pandemic, that actually turned around your mindset and your career in many ways, because ever since then, you've been all over the place. And I think that I've had some like private conversations with people whom I will not name, but I will say that they are guys and they respect like the crap out of you, and they fear you in some ways too. I've spoken to seriously, and there's so few women, not to take anything away from the like multitude of talented women that are currently working in the United States, but I had somebody, and I quote, say, Davy is not a women's wrestler. Davy is a worker. I don't like using industry terms, but see, I see you're tearing up, because it's like, to have the validation of men in like a predominantly male industry is so strong and so powerful. Like it's sometimes it's harder to get that validation from women because women can butt heads, but when a guy really respects your work ethic and what you do and what you bring to the table in wrestling, I feel like that's just so important. So yeah.
It really is, because a lot of the times too, when I first started, it was like, oh, like I'm the only girl, so like I get attention because I'm the only girl. And it's not like, it's not always, you know, the best attention. It's just because like you're a body that's there. And so a lot of the times I would get feedback, and I knew my match was bad, and they'd be like, oh my God, it was so great. And I'm like, it was not. It was not. You're just saying that so I can be like, oh my God, thank you. And now when I like, not now, this isn't recent, but like I get legitimate feedback from men that I genuinely respect, and I'm like, yeah, like I know that they respect me, and it's not just because they're like, ooh, hopefully like we could have a chance. Like it's like, no, they genuinely care about me as an individual, as a performer, like, and they're going to give me feedback, and they genuinely think I'm talented. And that's like, you know, a lot of the times, and it's like somebody who's like, oh, I really want to wrestle you. It's not just because of like, oh, I just want to kind of like be around her. It's like, no, like she's good. And that's really, that to me is like the most valuable things I've heard, because it's like, wow, like they actually like want to be in a ring with me because they know I'll hold my own. And that like, oh, it's just, it's everything.
There's different kinds of matches too, right? Like for you, someone who's been in the industry going on 8-9 years now, when you have matches with people who are less experienced, it's a learning experience for you, right? But in a different way than if you're versing someone who's either, you know, on par with your wrestling ability, or even in your mind, perhaps above your wrestling ability, right? That's like a tremendous learning experience for you. And I've had female wrestlers of mine say, sometimes I want that challenge more, and I get upset that I'm versing girls that aren't as good as me. But I'm grateful for the opportunity to have that happen. But I feel like I'm not given more because I'm a woman, particularly women who want to wrestle intergender and maybe don't have the stat to wrestle intergender from a man's perspective.
Oh yes, absolutely. Like I feel like whenever I wrestle, like Becca's been wrestling for 2 years. I do consider Becca an equal of mine, but there are still some things where like, you know, she's still learning, you know?
Yeah.
And then if I'm in the ring with JT Dunn, he thinks of me as his equal, but I'm like, bro, you blow my mind every single time we wrestle. Like, he makes me legitimately hate him. I really do. I really do literally hate him in those, you know, 20 minutes. And it's very, very real emotion. And that like, and like Anthony Green, another one that just brings out another level to me. And like, you know, with Chaotic, my big thing of like, I have the title now. I want to wrestle people who like people wouldn't expect. Like I'm not like just gonna, winning the title was the beginning. It wasn't like, yeah, I won the title and like the work stops. Like I'm gonna wrestle Paul London. I expect to get my ass beat and like learn a ton and like pray I keep my title. Like that's what I want. I want to wrestle the best wrestlers I possibly can, man or woman. I'm in the like point right now where I'm just like, I love having intergender matches, and I just think there's like a vast array of talented men, and there's a vast array of talented women, but it's like I just want to like pick top guys at this point and just like see if they would wrestle me and just learn from them. Like I just want to learn from the absolute best wrestlers I can, you know.
And it's crazy that someone with your skill and ability still wants to learn, because some people get that mentality. I'm booked everywhere. I'm done. Like I've
Yeah.
made it in my mind. Like I don't need to learn anymore.
No, like I'm always trying to like reinvent myself. Like I text, Anthony and like Becca, like, hey, like what do we think of this? Like, what do you think of this for gear? What do we think of this for like hair? Like always trying to just, make new stuff and evolve and get better and like when Anthony's up from Florida, he'll come to the school and I legitimately like ask him questions like, hey, if I'm doing this, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, yeah, we could do it this way. And I'm like, I feel like I do this too much. And it's like, I'm kind of taking away from the students who want to learn from him, but I'm like, well, I also want to learn from him too. So
Yeah, and he's been in an environment with some of the best coaches in the world for pro
exactly.
wrestling, so he still has something to give to you as well.
Exactly. So it's like, I just want to wrestle the best wrestlers out there and just learn from them because I don't know it all. And if people can teach me, then I can teach, the Beccas and the Parises and help them along too. So it's all just, like a little giving cycle.
Absolutely. It all comes back karmically. That's what I like to
Exactly.
But let's get into the nitty gritty. We are here to talk about the PWI 500 2021 rankings that are going to be coming out in the September issue, I believe. I want to talk about where you think you're going to rank this year. It's your first time in the 500. Do we have like a, 0 to 100, 100 to 200? Do you have an idea of where you'd rank based on having ranked in the PWI Women's 100 at 81 last year?
So I was shocked I was 81 in the women's 100. I never thought I was going to make a list. So to be in the 500, I'm like, oh, I just hope I'm not like 499. I am expecting maybe like the 450s, maybe. Like that's
Okay.
my hope. I'm gonna like kind of aim there, and if it's higher, I'll be like, oh, sick, and not be disappointed. But yeah, I don't really understand my own accomplishments, and then when people like put them on paper, I'm like, oh wow, I did that. So when I got the message, I was like, wait, what? Like, what have I done? So yeah, I think I'm gonna guess like I'm gonna hope wishful thinking for like the 450 to 500 range.
Okay, well, I'm gonna one up you. I think you're gonna get the 350 to 400 range.
Oh, thank you, Sam. Period.
Let's manifest that. Yes. Um, but looking towards the future, we have next year's PWI 500 along with the women's 100. Do you think any of the new girls from Nepwa have the potential to rank? I do.
Oh yeah, Becca. Yeah,
100%.
100%. I had this conversation with Ava Everett when Becca first started training, and we said that's the next Chris Statlander. And
wow, I never thought of it that way, but they really do have certain stylistic traits that are
do
similar.
have very stylistic similarities, and just their rise very, very similar. I am obsessed with Becca, if anybody couldn't tell. Like, I'm obsessed with that girl. I absolutely freaking adore her. She works so hard. Like she cares so much, and she's a freaking anomaly. Like she really is. Oh, she
And there's
saved.
so many people who wrestle and go through the motions, right? But I think that when Becca's in the ring, I watch so much wrestling, and not all of it is good, but every time I watch Becca in the ring, she makes me feel, even though I know who she is outside of the ring, like she can make you capture that moment in time and, suspend disbelief. And I think that she's going to be really important on the indies for attracting like newer fans to the independent scene who need that emotional connection more so than like spot, 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 spot.
Absolutely. I think that's a big thing that's missing from independent wrestling now. Like I will sit and I watch a lot of wrestling, and I'm like, ugh, can somebody make a noise? Can somebody make a face? Like, can you get me invested in what you're doing besides just like doing moves? And that's a big thing that like we teach. I'm like, I tell all the students like wrestling on mute is not fun. Like, I don't care what noises you make if you feel like a freak show, do something. Any kind of noise and emotion. Because I mean, when my trainer first was training me, he was like, oh my God, you're the most boring wrestler I have ever seen in my entire life. You have no charisma. And it just took me to get out of my shell to like actually do it. But that's a big thing I think is missing from a lot of wrestlers today. It's just like, oh, we're just doing things to do things. And it's like, why? Like, what's the emotion? What's the story? Like, can we please, make a noise? And if you make a noise, the crowd will want to make noise too. Because like, I feel like it's awkward when it's silent in the ring. And they're like,
yeah. Like on a psychological level, right? Like there's highs and lows in a match, and you have to reflect that so the audience knows what the hell's going on.
Exactly. And I think that's like a really big thing that's missing. But like, Becca just gets it. Oh, she's perfect. I love her.
She does. We'll put over Becca all day. I literally every time I see that, I'm like, I love you.
Like hours of me just like talking, like, oh my god, like heart eye emoji for Becca.
Well, Davy, thank you so much for talking to me today. I'm going to leave you with one last question, and that's going to be the generic, what's next for Davienne? On the indies or beyond?
Ooh.
Not beyond wrestling, beyond. I didn't phrase that well, but you know what I'm saying.
So, I mean, what's next for me is major life changes. And I'm just going to become a wrestling machine. I want to like do new stuff, get more athletic skills, really get in like ridiculous shape. And I mean, guys, I'm wrestling Paul London. Like on September 17th, I'm wrestling Paul London. That's so crazy. So that's what I'm really looking forward to. I have a really big match at Limitless Wrestling coming up. I'm gonna get rid of John Alba from Limitless Wrestling. And then hopefully in 2022, I sign a contract somewhere in 2022 or 2023. That's what I want. I don't want to have to work a real job anymore. I want wrestling to be my entire life. And everybody that supported me through like 2020, 2021, even since 2013, I appreciate literally every single person that has followed me on social media, said mean things, said nice things, viewed a match. Like, just thank you. I'm just an 11-year-old kid living my dream,
Who can ask for anything more?
Right.
Well, thank you so much, Davienne. I appreciate it. And to everyone watching WrestleT on my YouTube, please like, subscribe, hit the notifications button, and everything. All of Davienne's information, social media, merch is down below. Link in bio. Please support her. And thank you so much to Bell to Bells for this opportunity to interview Davienne, as well as a bunch of other ladies that will be making the PWI 500. Also, big shout out to PWI, because I have been like literally looking at PWI magazine since I was a kid. It was one of my first intros to wrestling. So this is a very full circle moment for me as a broadcaster in wrestling. I hope we can work together again. And I'll see you soon, Davey. Catch Davey on IWTV, Limitless, Beyond, WWR, and of course through Chaotic Wrestling's platform on Twitch, I believe.
Yes. Thank you so much, Sam. It was so good to see you and chat with you.
Thank you. See you soon. Okay, sorry, they made me do a 5-second pause after. I know that's super awkward, just like, hey, but yeah. Thank you so much. That was an awesome interview. I never like literally go 30 minutes with people ever. Like it was just very flowy. So
yeah, I just like love to just chat. And then I was like, oh my God, look at the time. Whoops.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God, wait, did we spend 7 minutes on the first question? I love this. Only because some people just like answer really short, like terse questions. And I'm like, all right.
Well, yeah. And you're like, oh, man, I need to like fill time.
Yeah, like what am I gonna, okay, now I'm gonna have to actively listen to get some questions out of y'all. No, but thank you so much. I don't know when this is gonna be out, but when I get home back to New York tomorrow, I'm gonna edit it and send it to Bell to Bells, and they'll keep me updated as well as you on when that's gonna be out. It'll be on WrestleT, it'll be on the Bell to Bells YouTube, and through PWI's social media as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, and enjoy your vacation.
Thank you. I will. I'm going to go out to tan, do some Labor Day stuff with my family. So I'll see you around.
Yeah, enjoy.
I shall. Bye, dude. See ya.
Bye.